What's up? It's your girl, the grown woman gamer, coming back at you with another fire commentary. And today I just want to apologize. I have a little bit of a cold, but my spirit was moving me to discuss this just because I have been following this story. I've done previous videos on it, and I wanted to throw my 2 cents in the ring. Of course, I want to talk about Colin Kaepernick today. I am kind of ashamed to say that my initial reaction after the fiasco with his audition, tryout, interview, whatever you want to call it, was um, like, I just was like, I'm done with this dude. I'm tired of the shenanigans and the antics, and I don't care as much as I initially did. I feel kind of exhausted with the runaround that the story is giving me as far as, you know, his side of things as well as the NFL, but especially the NFL. I kind of felt prior to um, last week that Colin Kaepernick was probably never going to play in the NFL again, just because it seems that there are a lot of people who are powerful and white and male who are dead set on him never donning an NFL jersey again on live television. He supposedly was supposed to meet with about 20 plus teams at the Atlanta Falcons facility, and they wanted him to sign something that he wasn't willing to sign, which I am going to discuss in a moment. They didn't want him to be able to record it, and they wanted to be able to provide the video content to um, the teams. And they also kind of wanted him to sign and say that he was not going to sue them. And so, taking a step back, I think that was their whole point. He sued them once and won. There's always the potential for future lawsuits, considering that he's done everything in his power to keep himself in playing shape. And watching the NFL previously, because I don't really watch anymore, I do know enough just following like sports commentaries, and I watch a lot of sports television where people are talking about football. I'm also on social media, and I know enough to know that there are a lot of teams, including the Washington Redskins, my home team, that probably could use a quarterback like Colin Kaepernick, and they certainly couldn't be doing any worse than what they're doing already. And the reason why he's not playing football has nothing to do with his ability to either play football or back up a starting quarterback. It has everything to do with the fact that he has spoken up against an institution that's run by people who have no vested interest in aligning themselves with the same politics that he has. And for them, they're betting on white. And so far, so good. They're making billions of dollars, and the money train is not stopping. They even cut him a check with that settlement or whatever. Um, but I am making this video not necessarily as a critique of his behavior, um, but more as a critique of my own initial reaction. I think about how exhausted I am personally with this story. I can only imagine how exhausted he is. He doesn't talk a lot, which I think is not good. I think he should be far more vocal. Um, that's my own personal opinion. He must have his reasons for not being more vocal. Maybe it has something to do with wanting to play and not wanting to be. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why he doesn't say more and become more of a vocal leader. But when you listen to the interview that he gave after he worked out at the high school facility, you can hear that he's frustrated. And he's speaking to these men as a man. He's letting them know, you treat us players, the NFL players, like boys, like we're your slaves, like we should kowtow to you. And while it is a fact that if you work for someone, you do have to give them a certain level of deference, because if you don't, chances are you're not going to have that job for long. But more often than not, with these professional sporting situations, particularly in football, they have a dynamic, given that all of their owners are white except for one, that some of their owners, many of their owners, are vocal Trump supporters, staunch right wing Republicans. Some of them are even clearly associated to known racists. That they really do take that word ownership very seriously. They take that to heart. They feel that they own you. And if your behavior is not in alignment with their values, if you don't meet their expectations, not only for what they expect you to do on the field, but how they expect you to behave and the things that you should say off the field, then they're going to make it really hard for you to keep earning that paycheck. Secondly, the proof of that is that people like Ben Roethlisberger and some of the other white players and black players who've committed actual crimes are still out there playing no problem, and they throw their full weight, their money, their power, their influence behind these guys to ensure that they can keep going out there and throwing that football, catching the football, running the football, and defending. I mean, it is egregious how the NFL has carried things, especially with respect to Colin Kaepernick, because he hasn't committed a crime. He hasn't done anything that's dishonorable. And if people can say, oh, he kneeled, that's disrespectful to the flag. Well, what about all these brothers that are literally beating the crap out of their children, their wives, killing people, actually committing crimes with drugs? I mean, I'm not going to villainize people that use drugs, and I don't equate that to someone putting hands on a man putting hands on a woman, but ultimately that is technically illegal, but you can do that and still play. Colin Kaepernick simply took a stand for something that is worthwhile, which is, standing up against police brutality and racist structures that are continuing to belittle, demean, and dehumanize African Americans and other people of African descent in this country. And we have to be kind of proud of this brother, because he stood up and he said, I am a man. And not only am I a man, but I am an intelligent man, and I am an intelligent black man, and I will not be played by you. I am equally as intelligent as you are, no matter how much money you have, and you're not going to rope me into something that works out for you to get me to sign something that essentially ensures that I will never be able to sue you again. Because the fact of the matter is that his agent has gone to all of the teams in the NFL and tried to get tryouts for Colin Kaepernick, and none of them have expressed any interest. No team asked for Colin Kaepernick to come try out. Roger Goodell in the league office wanted Colin Kaepernick to try out. Now, with that said, I don't believe that they really wanted to give this man an opportunity to play football, because he didn't really need to try out in that way for them to be convinced of it. They wanted to make sure that he could never hit them in the pocket again. And he recognized that, and he kind of probably walked in there knowing that that was the case, especially when they saw that agreement that they wanted him to sign. And he said, forget this. You guys have been stringing me along for 3 years. I know that I should be playing. I know what your intentions are and what they're not, and I'm just not here for it. And for people like Stephen A. Smith and even Shannon Sharp and some of the other folks that are critical of him because of the way he did things, this is the one thing I have to say. Stephen A. Smith is someone who I can't say that I respect, but I think that his perspective is one that is worth listening to because it's very pragmatic. And he just signed a huge contract, one of the biggest contracts for a sportscaster, I think, in history. So he is bought at a price. And I'm not saying he's a sellout because I think there is a difference. Whenever we decide on a dotted line to work and make money under someone else's company, under someone else's quote unquote ownership, we do essentially relegate ourselves to a position of, I'm not going to say submission or subservience, but I do think you know that there are rules to it, and there are rules you're going to have to follow, things you're going to have to say, things you're going to have to not say in order to keep that job or keep your position or move up or whatever it is your goals are. And if you look at Colin Kaepernick, he has made a decision, not unlike Muhammad Ali did with respect to the Vietnam War. And he said, you know what? I care more about my manhood, my integrity, my pride, my identity, my loyalty to a community that I feel connected to and am a part of than I do this money, than I do playing this football, throwing this football down the field. He knows that what he's fighting for is more valuable than that. And as a result, he probably will never play in the NFL again. And the greatest years of his life, potentially playing football, are going to be taken from him. And he's willingly chose that path. If he wants to play football again, he's not going to do it by his own rules. But this is where the blessing does come from Colin Kaepernick. There was a time in basketball when a lot of players were treated very similarly, or the basketball players, particularly the black ones, were treated the same way football players are. And there were some basketball players who stood up. There was a time in track when black people couldn't even get on the track on the Olympics, and there were some black people that stood up and they made sacrifices and they took things on the chin that most of us today just probably couldn't even stomach considering dealing with. And perhaps because of Colin Kaepernick's sacrifice, a future generation of football players who are black primarily, because football is becoming more and more black, even the quarterbacks are becoming black. I mean, you remember back in the day, it was you'd be lucky to find one black quarterback. Maybe their walk will be different. Maybe they will be treated more as men. Maybe these owners will treat them like equals, even if their pockets aren't equal. Not like boys, not like slaves, not like some type of robot. And I just am proud of him. You know, initially I was like, man, I'm so over this. And a lot of people are saying that. I have to say, this is exhausting. I think there are things that he could do differently, but like wearing the Kunta Kinte shirt, you know, he could have showed up to that practice facility, but I understand fully why he did not. And being more vocal, he needs to. I wish that he had a more of a mouthpiece, because if he spoke more to the issues that he's fighting for, and he had, you know, this more vocal presence, then if he showed up and did a few interviews with someone that perhaps he trusts and respects, then it would be easier for people to frame this conversation and to not make a lot of assumptions about him, or to just assume that he's a diva. I've heard people call him a diva, or that he's like an attention whore. I don't necessarily think that is the case, but it's hard not to make assumptions or jump to those types of conclusions because he doesn't really talk as often as we might like him to. And then I do want to just talk about Jay-Z for a few minutes here before I wrap up. You know, Jay-Z is a man who has created his own lanes, especially initially in his career. You know, he's a former drug dealer. He grew up in the projects of New York, of Brooklyn, and he comes from a black family, an African American family. He was raised by a woman. You know, he's had a lot of visible growth. Like we've watched him go from being like this kind of arrogant womanizer who glorified, drug life, all types of things that could be perceived as negative, to becoming this family man who is doing some things that can be clearly viewed as a positive or philanthropic, charitable. He has done some things around advocacy, and I'm not going to try to take away from the whatever benefit or good can come from all of the good that he may have done it so far. I think it's kind of interesting that while all this is going on, he's throwing a benefit for his foundation where he's raising $6 million. Great, he raised $6 million, and hopefully that will benefit people who need it. That's a very Jay-Z like thing to do nowadays. But the fact that that coincides with what's going on with Colin Kaepernick, and the fact that people are saying that he somehow helped to orchestrate this audition or interview for Colin Kaepernick with the NFL teams does reek a little bit of a PR stunt, and or maybe he's trying to, fix some of his reputation or the hit that his reputation took by him taking this deal with the NFL. Or maybe he just doesn't care and wasn't involved at all. Again, we have no idea. He's another person like Kaepernick who does not speak very often regarding why he does things, and he doesn't really explain himself per se, which is definitely a trait that you find in a lot of alpha males who know who they are and are dominant and are looking to build as opposed to build for someone else. If I was him, I would have to respect Colin Kaepernick, because Colin Kaepernick is sending him and anyone else a message. I don't give a darn or damn. Let me just say, I don't give a damn about your money. I don't give a damn about how powerful and influential you are. I don't care about how many radio hits you've made. I don't care who is down with you and not with me because I'm not down with you. I am a man. I know who I am. I am intelligent, and I will make decisions that advocate for me, my family, and my community. And I'm doing it on my terms. If you meet me with terms that respect the truth of everything that I just said, that I am a man, I am intelligent, I am a black man, and I know better than to do something stupid like sign a contract that says I'll never sue you again, or show up to a tryout that has these conditions or a feeling that it's essentially some type of setup for the NFL to get something from him that they really want, then so be it. Go on your way and continue on. And what he said at the end was, "You can stop running. I'm right here. Meet me right here where I am, or don't meet me at all. And no amount of money or opportunity that you can put in front of me will allow me to compromise any of those facts that I know, my value as a man, my value and my worth as a black man, my intelligence, and my ability to discern what is best for me." And so with that said, instead of me looking at it like, dang, I am so tired of this Colin Kaepernick conversation, I'm going to say, right on, brother. Keep doing your thing. Keep pushing, because at the end of the day, one day, maybe not in your time, the structure will change. We'll start to see diversity within ownership in the NFL. We will start to see men in the NFL treated as men, not as assets only. We'll start to see more equitable pay across the board, because they talk about these huge contracts, but the bottom line is most of these players end up broke within 5 to 10 years after their career is over. We'll start to see them deal with CTE in a real way. We'll start to see the NFL taking ownership of the fact that football is a violent sport and that it has these negative consequences, and that they'll, instead of just throwing each of these individual players with these instances of violence under the bus, they'll take ownership of the fact that they need to do something about that. They'll deal with their drug policy and the fact that they're a league full of addicts. Let's keep it a buck. They're a league full of pain pill addicts, and they'll deal with marijuana and cannabis in the right way. Perhaps because of the stand that he takes, we won't have to have so many sacrificial lambs like Colin Kaepernick in the future. And so I apologize fully for my initial reaction, and I'm just hoping that regardless of what happens with his life as a football player, that in his life as a man, he continues to have God's grace and peace. Anyway, that's my 2 cents, and I hope that you enjoyed this little commentary. I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for listening. I would love it if you subscribe to my channel. I post a ton of videos playing Call of Duty, but occasionally I'll do nice commentaries like this one. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Peace.